while you wouldn't imagine how many times I go to give a talk and I walk up and the microphone's in my chest. This is a new experience, so thank you all very much. And first of all, congratulations to everyone for what a wonderful day today. I think it's a chance for everyone to celebrate on some great accomplishments, but also to look ahead a little bit to what we're facing going forward, how we wind up getting really engaged as a community together and really build moving forward. I too, Poly Pavilion's for anyone that grew up playing basketball, this is like a mecca of a location. And I always thought growing up that someday I would like to play Poly Pavilion. Little did I know it would be on this stage, not something out there. But I'm really pleased to be here either way. What's important though, reflecting back in the era where I was growing up, Poly Pavilion was famous not just for players, but you had Coach Wooten out there. And Coach really had a framework where developing great players, what he started with was developing great leaders. And when you wound up leading, you wound up winning as a result of that and putting that framework together. So everyone talks about, and I say this at every one of these institutes, how we won this thing. And we should all celebrate this, but no one here has won a thing. This is not a big research grant that everyone's going to wind up putting together. What you've done is been selected by the nation to lead. And it's really important. We're at the cutting moment, real transitional moment for energy and manufacturing. It's all over the news these days. It's a big deal to wind up driving economic growth, driving job potential. And this institute can be ground zero for how we can make sure through technology innovation, for human capital development, where we can wind up having a community of innovators that can really drive this forward together. And that's really what we're structuring to go forward here. So to make a sustainable growing institute, that's what we need to be looking at from day one. So my goal standing up here is to sort of take a look at where do we wind up standing in terms of this state of innovation. And I don't have my glasses, so just hit the green button, I assume. There we go. So what is manufacturing innovation? It's advancing technology, and everybody looks at the technology and says, wow, here's all the really neat things we can do. But if we don't put that technology in the hands of people where they can take action with it, it's just a science project. What we're working on here is how we build this community of innovation together, bringing together the private sector, the public sector, universities, national labs, state governments, so you wind up having these clusters of excellence that are going to lead the nation in this manufacturing innovation. Why does this wind up mattering? Well, the most common question I get asked these days, let's say the last few months, has been, hey, Mark, next spring, are you going to still have your job? So first of all, I'm a non-political in the Department of Energy. I'm an office director at it. And the question I look at is I say, what we work on really is at the nexus of three different areas. First of all, we've got this tremendous opportunity with energy in this country for how we use that energy for national energy security and independence behind that. Second question is how we wind up driving that so we can be the most competitive, economically competitive place in the world for manufacturing using these energy activities because we're using energy as effectively as possible. And as a byproduct of that, you wind up getting sound stewardship of the environment. These are goals we're all getting behind, and what we look at is having this breakthrough moment in technology innovation. So I take a step back as well to understand how this works and where we've had these other breakthroughs. So if you've seen me talk about this recently, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself to you all, but you look at the history of the United States. The American Revolution started almost exactly the same time as the Industrial Revolution. James Watt incorporated his first company in 1775. This wound up kicking off an era where these artisanal craftsmen suddenly went into this new thing called manufacturing. They had to learn new skills. They had to learn new capabilities. They had to understand a whole new way of working. But as a result of that, we wound up growing our economy. So coming out of the revolution, we had our first Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton. And he was asked by Congress three questions. One is, how do we pay off the debt for our revolution? Second is, how do we wind up, should we print money or not? But the third question he was asked is, what do we do about this new thing called manufacturing? So 225 years ago, he published a report, and it's actually on display in the archives right now. on manufacturing, a report to Congress. 3 things they noted at the time. First of all, is encouraging manufacturing in interest of all parts of the union. So it's, as it is today, everywhere it's going to impact things. But it's not just for the wealth, it's for the independence and security of the country are connected to that manufacturing. And as a result of it, it's in the interest of the community in the view of eventual and permanent economic growth to encourage the growth of manufacturing. So those are foundational documents that we've been working on for 225 years together. From that, we wound up rising the first industrial era in this country. You wound up having everything from the DuPont plant in the middle. Is anyone from DuPont here today? Hopefully somebody's on the line. On the left, you wind up having lighting. And the interesting thing about that lighting is it was as a result of this breakthrough innovation called town gas, which is natural gas in Indiana they wound up having. And you can see the banner on that picture on the left is actually attracting 31 new companies that wound up locating in Findlay, Ohio. They were celebrating it because of this breakthrough in innovation. On the right, you wound up having the side effect of that. You wound up having people moving into cities. You wound up having a massive number of horses coming in. That wound up having problems in and of itself. How do you sustainably deal with these larger groups? And we could have developed a faster horse. We could have developed a bigger river. Or we could have built a brighter natural gas light bulb. Instead, we innovated. What you wound up with in the second industrial revolution is electrification, scaling of manufacturing, and the assembly line. So we wound up really developing that 20th century strength of industrial revolution in the United States from that. This also gave rise to a complete transformation. Things like our land-grant university system, our community college systems, all developed directly as a result of that because we needed people empowered to take advantage of this as a nation. So coupling that technology innovation with the workforce development innovation, both were important. Where do we stand today? Oh, hold on, before that, what this wound up leading to is how we wind up using energy today. About 1/3 of all energy in the United States goes into manufacturing. I think these are statistics you all are quite familiar with. With that, about 2/3 of that energy goes into a handful of these energy-intensive industries: chemicals, petroleum, metal manufacturing, pulp and paper manufacturing, glass and cement, manufacturing food. All of those things wind up consuming a tremendous amount of energy. But if we wind up developing technologies to minimize that amount of energy, you can wind up actually having lower costs as a result, so it can be more and more competitive. So what's the silver bullet that we can wind up pulling together between all of these? Well, we stand in a new revolution that we're going through. You've got Moore's Law. You've got the connectedness of the world in the last 2 decades. You've got massive supercomputers, and you've got actuation through robotics. How do these things come together? How are we going to wind up taking advantage of these? So just as 100 years ago when we wound up developing the assembly line and developing scaled up processes and developing electrification, we wind up taking advantage of this so we can wind up continuing to lead the world. That's what this is all about. This leads directly to what we're trying to do here in the Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute. So what are the technologies we should be working on in this? So the Department of Energy has gone through an effort around manufacturing, was just mentioned before this, looking at technology areas, not sector areas, but technologies, whereby advancing those technologies, we can wind up moving forward as a nation in manufacturing at this intersection with energy. I've identified 14 technical areas through their quadrennial technology review. I'm going to point out that we then, within the Advanced Manufacturing Office, wound up developing the first multi-year program plan that we've had in over a decade. And that's actually published on our website. It's available and open for comment right now. On the left, one of the key things that ties it all together is the area of smart manufacturing. The advanced sensors, the advanced controls, modeling, platforms, communications. How do you wind up using these across the board for managing energy in manufacturing so we can move forward most effectively? So the thing that's connected to manufacturing right now is how is this going to create jobs? And honestly, the jobs question is the one that's the hardest for any of us to answer when we're talking to our colleagues. Because often people come along and they say, hey, what's this issue about automation? Isn't that just going to get rid of the jobs? A key thing to look at, when you develop innovation, On the far right here, for every job in manufacturing, you have one job outside, or excuse me, 0.8 jobs outside manufacturing that are directly related to it. When I say directly related, I don't mean the multiplier effect of, you're buying things from the grocery store and money's going around in the economy. I mean, as a result of that person working in a factory, there needs to be a truck driver. There needs to be someone doing accounting that's tied to that job. In advanced industries, for both energy and manufacturing, you have 2.4 jobs, outside of the manufacturing sector for every job in the manufacturing sector, in those advanced sectors. So the key to things like the smart manufacturing area is not just the economic multiplier of greater productivity, it's that you're actually creating a whole new category of jobs. If you look at the jobs that are available in the manufacturing sector right now, they're things like data analysts. People are trying to find enough people with the skills to be able to do that. We should stop telling people that they're in the manufacturing sector and just say, you're doing 3D printing and data analytics. Be happy with it, right? Let the Bureau of Labor Statistics add all that stuff up, right? I mean, but this is a key element. In the United States, when we wind up driving innovation forward, we actually grow our economy. We also have better jobs across the board. In those advanced sectors, they pay more overall relative to at every income category. The United States, this is our home turf also. We end up having advanced industries relative to our GDP. So connecting our universities, connecting our national labs, connecting our innovative companies together so we can get that technology out as fast as possible really is the strength of what we wind up doing. And looking around the nation, it was mentioned earlier the IMCP program and a number of other cluster programs out there. These are metropolitan areas where from the bottom up, people are identifying this advanced manufacturing as it remains an important issue still to all parts of the nation. So within the Advanced Manufacturing Office, we actually have 3 strategies. They're complementary strategies we wind up working on. Starting at the bottom here, we still fund individual research and development projects, looking at technology, discrete technology innovations that can have huge impact in manufacturing relevant to energy. We wind up funding things like our open innovation call that we just held, the open incubator call that closed a couple of weeks ago. We wind up running projects at our national labs in partnership with companies. We have things like our high performance computing for manufacturing program and our small business partnership programs. We wind up having our R&D facilities. I'm going to come back to that in a second. This is the consortia that we wind up establishing. And then the third area is at the top, our technical assistance. We have things like our Better Plants partnerships, but more and more importantly, things like the adoption of ISO 50001 and the tools to enable companies to do that more effectively. Having our industrial assessment centers where they can connect to small businesses more effectively, and really getting that entire suite of tools out there more effectively. Our R&D facilities are these public-private partnerships, though, and the Manufacturing USA National Network for Manufacturing Innovation Institutes are really the hallmark of that. This is a collection of the kind of programs we wind up running. In the lower right, you wind up having the Power America, the Composites Institute, Smart Manufacturing, our Rapid Process Intensification Institute, and Remade, our Sustainable Materials Institute. I'll point out that between Composites, Rapid, and Remade, these are a natural complement to what you're doing in smart manufacturing, in the sense of you're developing the information technology side of things that connect to some of their innovations that are going on in things like how you develop better process intensification in chemicals. Power America is the natural complement in the sense that in developing advanced semiconductors like silicon carbide and gallium nitride, you actually have an ability to actuate power more effectively and cost effectively across manufacturing floors. On the right, where we've got chain reaction innovations, Innovation Crossroads and Cyclotron Road, these are our small business incubator programs that are partnering with national labs to make them more effective places for starting up new companies. Across the top, we have the Rare Earth Critical Materials Institute and the Manufacturing Demonstration Facility down at Oak Ridge. And over at the left, Better Plants, Superior Energy Performance, and our Industrial Assessment Centers. This constellation of programs really does provide a overall network of activities where we can wind up more effectively connecting our manufacturers across the country in areas where there's critical technology gaps, where universities, national labs, and research companies can wind up getting that information connected across those boundaries. That's the entire purpose of it. So what does success look like at the end of the day on this? We're not only inventing things here, but we're also productively manufacturing them here. We have a sustainable economy. We end up having energy independence as a result of that, and we're sound stewards of the environment. So with that, I want to thank you very much and congratulate you on the great job.